Okay, so some of you may be asking yourselves where I've been for the past. Oh no, it's been a while. Well, I swear that I have a good answer, and that answer is Scathas. Yeah, I killed 1,000 Scathas in a non-Iron Man profile. For fun. At least it puts my 1 billion gold collection to use. Anyways, along my journey, to my surprise, I actually learned and discovered a lot about the intricacies of scatha mining. So let's just dive right in, shall we? Okay, so I'm going to start with the method of spawning scathas I use, and then we can get into some numbers and some optimizations. As a lot of you probably know, you generally spawn scathas by mining in a 1 block wide and 2 block high tunnel, and this is done at the bottom of the crystal hollows so that you don't spleef yourself since you, well, can't break bedrock. You also get a nice 15% bonus to pristine and mining fortune from the bow, which you'll see will come in great handy later. So when I spawn into a new lobby for some epic scatha mining, what I do initially is ether warp down to this tunnel in the magma fields here, and then dig down in this block. Why exactly that block? I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but I like the consistency. Anyways, I then face exactly 270 degrees according to these numbers on my crosshair, or negative 90 degrees in the F3 menu, and then the other number should be somewhere between 26 and 30 generally. Then I dig forwards as you normally would scatha mining. It is of really high importance that you get the number exactly right, not 0.1 off or anything. Even if you do have it exactly right, you'll still have to align again sometimes while digging your tunnel, because you're actually facing like negative 90.05 or something, and this will make you go in some random direction either to the left or the right. Once you realize where this alignment is pushing you, just move the opposite direction until you're hugging the wall of your tunnel. Once you get this all down, you should be able to do it in the first 10 to 20% of digging your tunnel. Then you simply dig to the other side of the bedrock wall. Now, here's the first big thing I learned. It's called subscribing to the Implodent channel so you aren't behind in the mining meta and everyone laughs at you. Yeah, that sounds good. Subscribe to not be humiliated. Anyways, for the actual optimization, you can actually make the tunnel 3 blocks high, and in the process, continue to spawn scathas. Doing this gives you a much higher blocks broken per second amount and will allow you to spawn, is a rough estimate, maybe 20% more scathas per hour, which is pretty nice. I'll come back to this later, as it has a few interesting implications, especially for high ping players. For whatever reason, I don't think you can make the tunnel 4 blocks high and just repeat this, although that would be really cool. Anyways, you use the same alignment system as when you were digging the 2 block high tunnel. Now, as you're watching this background footage, a lot of you are probably wondering why I'm actually using both mole and efficient miner for this. The reason for that is that it doesn't actually impact scatha or worm spawns, and if it does, it's minimal enough that the extra money you get from coal and hardstone is well worth it. You'll see later how much these two actually made. It's ridiculous. There is one upside to mining without these two perks enabled though, and if you're high ping, you'll definitely want to listen to this. For some weird reason, you can also mine the sides of the tunnel at head level to spawn scathas. If you haven't been using mole or efficient miner, then none of these blocks will already be broken, and you can just align yourself accordingly and move left or right down the tunnel, which will once again be faster than mining the initial 2 block high tunnel. Then, once you're done with both sides, you can just mine the block above your head. Why is this good for high ping players? Well, that's because the reason that you bump into the blocks while mining a 2 block high tunnel is because of the ever so slight delay between you breaking a block and the server actually registering it, which is obviously dependent on your ping. Now, I have around 50 ping, which is a good range to be in, but I still bump into blocks constantly. You need 0 ping to actually just mine forever in a straight line, which is never happening. This is also the reason that increasing your speed won't help for 2 block high tunnels. Looking at you, Fozzie. Anyways, this problem is horribly exacerbated for people who live in places like Australia or China and have like 300 ping consistently. However, when you're mining the sides or the ceiling, they will still be delayed in their breaking time, but they will still break. It isn't slowed down because you're not bumping into them at all, so disabling mole and efficient miner and mining the sides and the top will be much more beneficial for high ping players than it will be for low ping players. So once you're done with digging your tunnel, you've chosen your method for doing it, you're at the bedrock wall you were previously. Now, you just need to start a different tunnel. I'd recommend digging about 6 blocks to the right, don't count this, just dig until it feels right, so that mole and efficient miner will be able to proc to their maximum potential without the possibility of running into already broken blocks from the last tunnel. One thing to mention before I talk about the gear is this immensely useful mod called Scatha Pro, and I'll link their Discord in the description. What it does is allow me to have these numbers on my crosshair that tell me my rotation, which are really nice for aligning, and it has a bunch of other features. These are things like showing you the percentage of Scathas in your session, or your Scathas since last pet, or your total pet drops. Basically just stats that you get to complain about. I think it's great personally. It also comes with this cool achievements menu, which is nice for motivation and small goals when you first start Scatha mining. This is not a sponsored section, I swear. Whew, that was a lot. Okay, so now I can explain the gear. Obviously you'll want as much magic find as possible, things like setting your beacon to it, enrichments, etc. But this is not a magic find guide, watch some ghost grinding video for that, I don't know. But here's another thing I learned. Regrettably, like 30% of the way through, but it was a buff nonetheless. It's swapping to Divan armor. Now, a lot of you might roll your eyes at this, as I did at first, but it's actually really beneficial. It raised my profits from things like coal, topaz, hardstone by a whopping 77%. A lot of this is because I wasn't using topazes in my Sorrow armor initially, but Divan still gave me a huge buff, which you'll see later in the video where I go over what I got and some other stats. I really cannot recommend it more highly. Swapping back to Sorrow and just using an auto pet in that wardrobe slot for your magic find pet takes very little time, and you'll only have to do it 6 to 7 times an hour anyways, so it's very little downtime. Things like coal, topaz, and hardstone make a lot more than you might expect as well, and I really cannot emphasize how good they are. Even if you're thinking you don't really need money at all and you just really want Scatha spawns, you'll still want to Divan swap because there's a 30-second cooldown between spawning worms of any kind, so swapping armors doesn't impact your Scatha rates at all. So now that we have swapping covered, let's talk about killing the worms in the Scathas. Yes, I optimized this, and yes, I'm going to tell you about it. The cooldown between worm spawns makes this entirely useless, but it allowed me to get more hardstone collections as I could get back to mining faster. Truly an implodent moment. So, I went through a lot of stages with this, initially thinking of using a shredder to throw the hook through the worms and just annihilate them with ferocity. However, you have to mess up your aim to throw it, while if you melee the worm, you only have to mess up your aim for digging the 3-block high part, so I figured it wasn't worth the downtime. Then, I started killing worms specifically with a Valkyrie and Scathas with a Daedalus axe, but I realized that the same problem that affects the Hyperion not counting towards bestiary or whatever happens in Valkyrie melee as well, so I stopped using it. I then looked at the next best weapon for ferocity, which was literally just a Chimera 5 Daedalus axe, which, hey, look, I already have that. So I reforged it to dirty, recombobulated it, and bought a tiger pet. I had an auto pet rule that when I entered combat it would equip the tiger, unless the golden dragon was already equipped. This prevented it from coming out when I was killing a Scatha, and thus losing me magic find. Then, the Daedalus axe I had would copy the tiger's stats and give me a ridiculous amount of ferocity. I then just maximized my ferocity from other sources without sacrificing mining fortune or magic find. For those thinking that I could have gotten Chimera 5 and a shredder or something and meleeed the worms, which I would have to be insane to do, I have to say that there's another aspect to killing them faster. It's called Fire Aspect. I am hilarious. Anyways, Fire Aspect actually works on worms and Scathas, which really makes it quite useful. However, for some reason, Fire Aspect doesn't work with the shredder, even when meleeing the worms, which just makes it worse pretty much automatically. Also, there's a rumor that Ferocity and Fire Aspect make it so that Magic Find doesn't work, which I'm 90% sure is just entirely falsified. One thing I did notice though is that about 4% of my kills were not counted towards bestiary. The document on screen is what I used to track it. If you want an in-depth analysis, I'd recommend pausing the video to read it. But as they still gave me combat experience, I think the most likely assumption would be that they still gave me Magic Find. That said, I tracked my total kills with the bestiary, so if you really care about potential accuracy, divide the totals of everything in this video by like 1.04. Wow. That was a lot to cover. I think that's all the weird intricacies I did though. How I mined, Divan swapping, optimizing worm killing. Never thought I'd write this much about Scathas. So, this is the fun part now. Cue the montage. 270 for a rare? Huh? Oh dear, that was not good. Well, I guess it's time to go over the stats now. So these chests right here are representative of pretty much everything I gained throughout. Take note that a lot of the things here are compacted by just buying from the bazaar, so they fit in the chests. When I say how much I made, it'll be from the materials I actually sold and not their compacted versions in some cases, like for mithril and coal. So don't scream at me for making enchanted coal blocks, please. I'm not that stupid. Anyways, I made 3.3 million coins from sapphire gemstones, another 3.3 million coins from amber gemstones, 6.7 million coins from jade gemstones, 13.3 million coins from obsidian, which was really surprising, 17.7 million coins from ruby gemstones, 19.8 million coins from iron, 21.1 million coins from amethyst gemstones, 40.4 million coins from mithril, 159.6 million coins from coal, 186.5 million coins from topaz, surprising again, 300 million coins from epic pets, 409.5 million coins from hardstone, and 490 million coins from rare pets. This all totals to 1,671,000,000 coins gained in total, which sounds like a lot until you realize that I spent 153 hours on this, assuming 6.5 scatha kills per hour, making my money per hour 10.8 million coins. That's not good money per hour, like, at all. Especially with, like, everything else I could be doing with this setup. It sucks. So sad. One thing you may have also noticed is that the non-pet sources of income actually add up to more than the pets themselves. 52.7% of my income was made from the materials I got by literally mining in a straight line. Granted, my pet RNG, specifically when it came to what rarities I got, was an absolute dumpster fire, but still. What? Also, the money per hour goes down to 8.5 million coins when using Sorrow versus 11.1 million coins in Devon, which really shows why I made the right decision with that one. I also gained a nice 72.4 million mining experience, which means it was 471,000 experience per hour, which sucks, don't get me wrong, but I'll always take it. I also got 13.7 million compact in my drill, which was pretty nice. Anyways, yeah, don't do Scathas in a normal profile. I don't regret it by any means, I still got to experience something new in mining, but I just wish maybe I'd gotten a little bit luckier. Goodbye.